Hi everyone, welcome to Abolish. Hi everyone, welcome to Abolish Debt Slavery. This is the first monthly meeting in a series, so let's get started. Today what I want to talk about is what I did to get out of debt. So I've been in debt twice. The first time I was a college student. I didn't have any income yet. I got all these credit card offers and thought, hey, I need to build up my credit. They made it pretty easy, just amazing. No job, no income, yet they just give me a credit card. And then the second time I was in debt, I had been out of college for a while. I was a young professional making the most money I've ever made in my life, and then I had excessive income. And so what I did was start a business on the side. So I'd work during the day and, do the 9 to 5, during the day for my jobby job, just over broke. And then, at night from, 5 to 9 is when you make the real money, right? Supposedly. Well, that's what I did. So I started investing my additional cash into a business. Then the economy crashed, and the business didn't take off as fast as it needed to. I leveraged some credit cards to pay some of the development costs just to get us through the final stages before we released our product. And then I lost my job. So then couldn't obviously pay off the credit cards, was playing some of the zero balance games and whatnot. So those are the two times that I was in debt. And today's session basically just want to focus on that first time. So my first time as a debt slave, as I like to call it, was during college and then post-college. And so what I did to get free is what this session is about. So you can certainly follow this advice, do what I did, and you may have the same results. I'm not saying this way is the best way. There's probably better ways to do it. This is just what I did. So my freshman year in college, I came home and I was able to pay. I started to charge things up. I ran out of money in my freshman year of college, and I ended up charging to my credit card. That summer, I worked full time the entire summer and was able to pay off the credit card. But I wasn't able to save as much as I needed to for my sophomore year in college. So I ended up taking on a few more credit cards and started charging up things, thinking, well, I'll pay it off in the next summer. So, the next summer came and I didn't quite pay it off. I got most of it, and then ended up going my third year, and I was lured into this really cool travel scam. It was supposedly thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. It was a 3D camera. It was some jewelry that I could give to a girlfriend. And then it was a trip to the Bahamas, of which I never took. I never went there because I couldn't afford the plane tickets to go down. You actually had to purchase the plane, which I didn't know about. I figured, a trip down the Bahamas, it was all inclusive. And so all inclusive to me meant including the the plane ticket down there. Yeah, I was wrong. So the deal was, I would get all of this stuff for free. I just had to pay the taxes according to, what the salesperson said, the law was. I needed to pay the $997 in taxes. And the sad part of this was it was a sales call from a company that they received my information from my credit card company. My credit card company sold my information, and I went to, or they called me, and I thought it was a safe vendor because they mentioned my credit card's name, and they went to the sales pitch. I bought in, and that was the beginning of the end for me with the credit card debt, because it wasn't like a 0% interest deal. It was it was a high risk, the default rate of a credit card, which, at the time it was ridiculous. It was like, upper teens, lower 20% interest. And so the evil with credit cards is compound interest. So I was never able to pay off the credit card balance over the summer, from there. And so, what I had to do is the following year, in that summer, I obviously couldn't pay it all off. And then I started to not only work in the summer, but I started to work during the school year just to keep up with the payments. That wasn't to pay it off. That was just to keep up with the payments. So my grades suffered. I, was stressed out, and, all the difficulties, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know exactly what I mean. And so now, with this additional job during the school year, although my grades suffered, I was able to maintain the minimum payments. Not pay it off, but just maintain and become the slave to that bank and the credit cards. Pretty sad. So I ended up being in debt on 8 different credit cards, totally maxed out. I had over $20,000 in credit card balance, and keep in mind, really, I didn't have a whole lot of income. Right, I was maybe making $3,000 or $4,000 in a year, so it was pretty sad that I could get that high of a balance, and it should just be outlawed. But that's another whole discussion. But so what did I do? I started to study how to get out of debt. I started reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Just started watching videos. At that time, we didn't have YouTube, but you can go to YouTube and find a whole lot of good and bad content on how to pay off your debt. So be careful of what you're watching. Make sure the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So make sure the person that you're getting your information from has the lifestyle, or basically is doing what you want to do. And so what I ended up doing is, the first thing I did was call each credit card, and I kept on requesting them to lower the interest. And to my surprise, they were at the time. I don't know if they still do that nowadays. I've recently, in the second time I was in debt, tried to get them to lower the interest rate, and they wouldn't do it because I was on some special promo, subprime credit card with a middleman bank. Or service, not directly through Visa, MasterCard, American Express. There was MBNA, Chase, or whatnot. Those are the subprimes where they're basically the middleman, and they're not going to cut you a deal. But you should definitely call and have them request to lower the interest rate. And then if you have any late charges, they'll usually let you do this one time where you can request a refund. And I did that. So, save $35 here and there at the time. And at that time, they used to play games since this is before 2009, which I believe they passed some laws where they can't mess around with your due date. But, that still may happen. I'm not sure. Anyway, they were playing those games with me there, and I missed some payments. So that being said, there's really... I thought about this 2 different ways. To me, I was an engineer, and not too smart, right? And when I got on this credit card debt, it's pretty obvious that you shouldn't do this, but, hey, I did it anyway, and it happens. So anyway, the 2 schools of thought here is, one, you could pay off the highest interest rate first, right? Why? Because it, obviously would cost less in the long run, in theory. Or 2, and I heard this with some of these videos and tapes that I was watching. This guy said, pay off the lowest balance first. Why would you do that if you have a higher interest rate? I just couldn't get that. And he said, I actually spoke to the guy afterwards. I was doing the speaking and whatnot. He said, you basically want to get the momentum. So once you pay off one of those 8 credit cards, you will feel so empowered, so good that you just keep the ball rolling. And it was a big incentive. So, some of the other things I did, I've got up here on the title, the 0% game. So all of a sudden, after, I've been paying off these minimum balances, started paying a little bit more. I had one credit card that still had available credit balance left on it, and they sent me these checks in the mail, and I always would kind of ignore them or throw them away or shred them or whatnot because I figured, oh, they're just trying to get me in debt even more. I didn't want to add more debt. I wanted to reduce my debt. So, I started thinking about it, and it was a scam because I found out that if I had a credit card, let's say it had a $10,000 balance, and I had $5,000 on that I owed to them. If I took another $5,000 out for this 0% interest deal, I would have to pay off the lowest bearing interest balance first. So in other words, I had to pay off that 0% balance first before I could start paying off the initial $5,000 that was just bearing me in compounded interest. So you want to make sure you check that. They've since changed some of the rules so you can pay off the interest-bearing balance before that, the 0%, the free money, so to speak, balance. So anyway, that's why I didn't do that stuff initially. Then I received a $5,000 gift. Basically, my grandma had passed away. She left us some money, and she left me $5,000. Totally wasn't expecting anything, and so I thought, I'm going to do some good things with this. This $5,000 eventually, and I'll tell you how I did it, got me out of debt. It also, I took that money and then invested it in a investment property as well, which I still have today. It's been doing awesome, and was really grateful that my grandmother left me that money. So what I did with it initially, I played the 0% game. And so what I did, let me check the next slide here to see if I explain here. Okay, so the action plan for payoff. So I took the lowest balance first option. I didn't pay off the one with the highest interest. I did it this way. This guy that was mentoring me at the time suggested I do that. So that's what I did. So I used the $5,000 to pay off the lowest balance card that offered the 0%. So I had out of those 8 credit cards, I had 2 of them that had really large balances. To me, it was it was like a $5,000 one and an $8,000. I'm going off of memory from a long time ago. But what I did is I used the $5,000, the one that was obviously less than $5,000. So I took the $5,000. I paid off that first credit card, paid it off, and I waited for it to clear. So once it cleared, I then took those checks that they gave me, and I deposited $5,000 into my bank account, in my savings checking account. And so that way I got the inheritance money back and basically put the $5,000 back on that same credit card. The only difference here is I basically still had the same balance, but now I went from a 15 to 18% interest rate down to a 0% interest rate. And that was huge because remember, I was paying off these, somewhat little bit above minimum payments, and I wasn't putting a dent in the debt. I mean, I was just paying the interest, really. And so this was huge. Now, it only lasted for a short period of time. It was like, 12 to 18 months. So there's a couple things you got to do. And the key was I set up an auto pay. So what that is a lot of times in, like your banks, they have free online bank billing or payments or whatnot. That's what I used. And so I set up an auto pay. First I set up an auto pay for all of my credit cards. I paid the minimum amount due plus a little bit more, say $10, $5, or whatever you can, okay? So set up the other in my case, I had 8 total credit cards, so I set up 7 credit cards and set them up for slightly over the minimum balance. The reason why you do that is because if you only pay the minimum, it impacts your credit score. If you pay a little bit more, it'll positively influence your credit score. So more on that on our next video cast. Next time we'll talk about some things that may impact your credit score. I'm speaking goodly tonight. Anyway, okay, so you did that. So you set up the 7 credit cards with the minimum payments, auto pay, so you avoid the late fees. That's big, okay? The other key thing here is with the credit card that I took the 0% interest, you do not ever want to miss a payment because it'll jack up your credit. It'll probably the interest rate. It'll jack up the interest rate from the 0% probably to even higher than what you initially had it before. So they're just waiting for you and hoping that you will make a mistake. But you'll use the auto pay to bypass that. So then what I did is I took my monthly budget. So I figured out how much money I made, how much money I needed to spend, how much I needed to spend on all these different credit cards. And then then I had to focus on the one credit card that I was trying to pay off. Remember the 0% interest one. So if you can set up the auto pay with the amount required to pay off the balance within that 0% time frame, the offer, remember it's typically 12 to 18 months. So basically you can take the total that you owe, say it's $12,000, I don't know, and it's a 12-month offer. So you just divide the 12,000 by 12 months, and that gives you $1,000 a month. So you would have to set up that payment for $1,000 a month to pay it off in that time. Now, if you can do that, great. If you can't, so be it. Do as much as you can. So what I ended up doing is I paid as much as I could, anything that I got. If I got birthday gifts, if I got any tax payback from my tax returns, I threw anything I could at that one credit card. I let the other one sit at minimum, the minimum payments, and the one credit card I worked my hardest to pay that off. Once I paid it off, what they did is so then I looked at my second lowest account balance. So the credit card with the second lowest amount, I focused on paying off that. So I did the same thing. The only difference was now that I've paid off my number one credit card, right? Say if I was paying like $500 a month on that credit card, what I did with that $500 a month payment, I didn't stop making that payment and just start going and spending the money. I took that $500 and I applied it to that second credit card. So not only am I paying the minimum amount plus the $10, I'm now paying this additional amount. I'm just saying $500 just to use a figure. If you're paying $100 or $2,000, so be it. What you do is as you pay each of these credit cards off down the line, you take the prior payment and you add it to that next credit card in line. So I did the same thing. I paid off the interest-bearing balance, and I transferred the $5,000 back into my account. So basically, I did this for 2 credit cards. So on one credit card, I paid it off with that $5,000, waited for it to clear, and then I took the checks that they gave me, took that $5,000, put it back in my bank, and then the second credit card with was a really high balance. So these 2 high balance credit cards, I did that with this $5,000. So I know I probably should have drew out a map here or like a picture. It would have been easier to follow. So if I took the 2 credit cards, any credit card that I could that gave me those checks, I would use this $5,000. I kept on transferring. I paid it off and then transferred that money back into my account. So that way I could get as many accounts as I could on that 0% interest. Now, not every credit card is going to offer that 0%, so you might only be able to do it to 1 credit card or 2 or whatever. But let's see, sorry, there's some background noise here. I wanted to make sure the house wasn't burning down or something. Anyway, so that's what I did. Now, understand, there is a flat fee whenever you do these transfers. Typically it's about 4%. But you can do the calculation yourself. But typically the fee that you pay for this transfer, the amount of savings that you're no longer paying that interest, that compounded interest, totally outweighs the cost of that flat fee. But run your numbers, check it out. Not all deals are not the same, so you have to do the calculation yourself. But that's what I did. Figured out it was $50 to a couple hundred dollars for, depending on the balance, that I transferred. So that's what I did. Now, so I did that to actually 2 cards that were roughly about $5,000 in balance. So now, essentially, I had about $10,000 that used to be 15 to 18%. Now I had those down to 0%. And again, like I said, that was huge. My balances stopped growing out of control. It just seemed exponential. Like 1 month after the next, it was going up higher and higher, and I wasn't charging anything. I was just trying to pay them off. So once I did that, I started seeing the balances come down. So with that $5,000 back in my bank, like I said, I focused on the smaller balances. So I went and I had my smallest balance was about $1,800. I paid off that $1,800 card. So when I finally did that, I felt so much empowerment. I had confidence. I was a lot happier because, hey, this plan, it's actually working. There's proof that the plan is actually working. So I kept on doing that. And I already kind of mentioned this, but reiterating it again, keep that momentum going. So the important step is adding the payment from the paid off accounts, the accounts that you've paid off, to that next lowest balance card. And so you'll see after you pay off that first credit card, it seems like it's forever to pay that off. But once it does, then that second and the third one, they are just going quicker and quicker. It's just an awesome feeling. So the key is that payment. Make sure the payment that I used for that $1,800 credit card, I added it to the next lowest balance on there. So, and like I said, whenever I got a large sum of money that I wasn't expecting, tax return, birthday money, I used it to pay off one of the credit cards that whatever credit card it was that I was focused on, I used it there. So all in all, it took me about 2 years, and I paid off my last card. Everything counts that you can throw at this. It's really, if you think about it, it's a war. It's them against you. They're doing whatever they can to make you slip up, to not give you a deal or whatever. And you're just a number. They don't care. The credit cards or the bank companies, they're in it for a profit. They're not in it for you. So you can call them and give them your sob stories or feel bad about yourself, but nobody's going to care except for you and us at abolishedebtslavery.com. So I hope this gives you a little bit of insight. Feel free to make comments or join us at our website, abolishedebtslavery.com. Help us out. So what we're doing is, our goal is to eliminate compounded interest for everybody. We are looking at, you can check out our video, we're looking at helping people out that are, good people that just kind of fell into the wrong situation. They're being crushed by compounded interest and credit cards, and we're looking to help those people out by doing that same thing. So kind of like what I did, took that $5,000. We want to help them out. So help us by helping others. Donate, or you can also invest. And so we're a social business. Any money that you invest in, you will get your money back. And or if you're in credit card debt, and you can help yourself, by requesting help from us. So again, join us, abolishedebtslavery.com, and we're looking forward to having you here. Just a little sneak peek at our next program. We're going to do some tips and tricks for good credit card score. So hope to see you on that next video, And again, join us at abolishdebt.slavery.com. Thank you so much.